Hey there guys, welcome to our second video. I know it's a bit noisy in here because you can hear my beef is already getting browned in the pan. This is our second video. Our last one was a lamb stew. Today we're doing a beef stew. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the videos. If you like the recipes, please let me know any you'd like me to cover. So basically, as you can see, our meat is browning nicely there. I'm just chopping up some celery here, which will be going in there. Not too fine a chop for the celery, and we're just going to put that straight into here. Now, just to make this easier for you guys to follow, I'm just going to take the beef that I've browned in the pan. I'm going to put everything into this pot here. I'm going to turn that one off and just basically bring it down to our one pot dinner. I'm going to put a little bit of water on the pan I used to brown the beef. I'm just going to take the juices off the bottom of that pan and just set them aside. I'll use those in a second. So here we have our beef. As you can see, it's nice and brown. I'm just going to add the onion to that. Just let me run through our ingredients for today. I've used 750 grams of diced beef. I'm going to use about 100 grams or 2 stalks of celery. For the onion, we have a roughly 250 grams. It's basically one large onion. We're going to use 200 grams of carrot. We're going to use about 170 grams of parsnip. We also have some Swede. We have about 200 grams of Swede. If you saw my last recipe, you'll know I had that left over. Swede is here. So we're just going to get this onion chopped as well. Again, it doesn't have to be too fine. We're making a nice beef stew here. It's going to be cooking a while. We like some of those pieces to be nice and large. That's all ready to go in. So at this stage, with our wooden spoon, we give it a good stir. We make sure there's nothing on the bottom. Now, so to take in and flavour our sauce today, I'm actually going to use some flour. So I've got 3 beef stock cubes here as well. I'm going to take those out. I'm just going to put the flour straight in. So basically what I'm doing with this flour is I'm making a roux. I'm going to use the fat that was there. I add the flour to it. And then we cook it out. Because it's a beef stew, we can cook the flour to a brown colour. If we were making a chicken velouté or something like that, we would probably not cook the flour through. We'd leave it nice and white. Because this is a beef stew, we can get a little bit of colour on that. Which the only difference is you just give it a little bit more time. So the next thing we use, there's roughly 3 tablespoons of flour there. I think roughly about 80 grams. The next thing we're going to use is some tomato puree. So we're going to get that in there as well. There's roughly 3 tablespoons of tomato puree there. So roughly 75 grams. You can see some of it is already starting to stick at the bottom. So we just need to keep an eye on that. We have a nice high heat here. So again, we just turn the tomato puree through and get it cooked through. And now we're ready to start adding our water. So I'm just going to start off with 1 pint of water. So I'll just get that in, roughly half at a time. Put in half and then make sure you give a good stir. And all the time you're leaving your wooden spoon on the bottom of the pan, just to pick up anything that's down there. Now we can add the second. Whoops. So you can see by adding the water to the flour and puree mixture, we've actually made a nice thick roux. Now I'm just going to add 2 more pints of water. Now at this stage we can also add our 3 stock cubes. So just get those in there. So basically that's most of your stew made. All we've got to do now is get some of the other vegetables in there, get them cut up, get some of the potato in there. Again, we'll dice some of that a little bit small So that'll add as a thickener as well. Now, so I'm just going to add these. I'm just going to cut through here the Swede. I'm going to cut that into nice small squares. So down again. Nice little squares. And this stew today, I'm making a stew for roughly 4 people, which would be, you know, approximately, let's take 150 grams of meat as a good portion for any kind of a stew. So this one should feed 4 people, but I would encourage anybody who's only feeding 2 to make it in a batch like this, so you've got a lovely dinner waiting in the freezer for you. If you're going to eat it within a day or so, there's no need to freeze it, but by freezing it you can basically take it out whenever you want it. So that's our turnip or Swede gone in there. Just going to chop the carrots. Again, remember my rules for chopping. Your chopping board is always on a cloth. Keep it steady. This hand is always in the claw, and we cut through. For something like this, we kind of cut from back to front. And you'll see with different ways that we can also use the opposite action. So that's our carrot in there. Now the parsnip is a beautiful flavour with beef, but I don't like the parsnip pieces to be as big as the carrot pieces. So I'm going to cut those a little bit smaller, just so they kind of blend and melt into the sauce a bit better. So we're almost there. What are we, a few minutes in? The only thing left is for us to get the last of these in here. And then cut down some of our potatoes to act as thickener. We also have some parsley and some thyme. We're using thyme in this where we use parsley for the lamb stew. Thyme goes pretty well with everything, but I think particularly well with beef. So we just keep monitoring the boil on the pan as well, because literally whenever you're getting a hard boil, that's when things have a chance to stick at the bottom. So you make sure every time you stir this, you get down to the bottom and you give a nice stir down there. Remember, the more you have in a pan, the more you have in a pot, the more it's packed, the greater the pressure on the bottom. So always make sure if you have a lot of stuff in your pan that you're always stirring and getting right down to the bottom to make sure nothing's staying there and sticking. So basically the only thing left is our potatoes. We're going to cut some of them into a small dice, not too small this time, and again that'll go in and help to thicken everything. So the beef I'm using for this is actually diced beef steak. So I know that's not going to take so long, but still I would like to cook this for at least an hour and a half, and you know, by all means cook for 2–2.5 hours if you can. So I think that will give us a nice amount of potato for thickening, and the rest of the potato I'm just going to put in roughly after about half an hour. I'm just going to give you one last cheat before I leave. You can actually just put all the ingredients in, maybe apart from the flour, and just put a lid on and just slow cook this for a while. It's going to give you something nice. But as you can tell, you can see the colour on the beef there. That's going to give a lovely bit of flavour, and it's also going to add a lovely natural brown colour to the stew. So see you in a while, guys. Now just a couple of things I forgot to mention. The juice I originally had from my pan, I'm just going to pop that straight in there as well. So basically I'm just waiting for this guy to get up to the boil now. The other thing I'd like to add now is our thyme. So our thyme are nice small pieces, and I'm just going to add those in right now. I'm going to leave the parsley until the end. Parsley is a lovely flavour, but if you put it in too early you kind of lose all that and it kind of just goes a dark green. So thyme is what I would call a hard herb, similar to rosemary. So I'm just going to pop that in now. That's going to give great flavor all the way through. Okay, welcome back guys. It's been about 10 minutes and as you can see, that's just coming up to the boil for me now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to season that. I'm going to season that with some pepper. Nice bit of pepper. The salt, I've already got some salt from those stock cubes, so I'm not going to go crazy with salt. We can always adjust that seasoning at the end. Potatoes are going to go in now. And again, because we've got a lot in this pot, just give it a little bit of time. Spend some time with it, stirring it. Obviously it's not going to, it was just boiling then. It's back on the heat now. Those cold potatoes have gone in, so it won't boil for another while. So you need to kind of mind it between now and then. Okay guys, we're about an hour in. As you can see, we're just rolling away. I've been stirring possibly every 10 minutes since, just making sure nothing is sticking. Just getting right down to the bottom, getting all around the corners. Not the corners, but the edges. So I'm just going to give this probably another half an hour. In a half an hour I'll just take my parsley, I'll chop it up, I'll re-season it, and that'll be your beef stew. Enjoy guys, enjoy making this, and I hope you enjoy eating it. Please like and subscribe, and please leave me a comment if you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you, bye bye.